Chapter 1. I'm not sentimental. I'm not sappy or soft or gooey. In the spring, when Girl Scouts come to my business looking to sell me some overpriced Thin Mints, I send them packing. In the fall, when all the ladies of Christmas River start planning the annual Christmas parade, I can be found back at my pie shop working hard on getting the seasonal Christmas pie just right. That, or I can be found drinking down at the Pine Needle Tavern with two old-timers who like to recount the glory days of Christmas River before the lumber mill shut down. During the annual Christmas River Gingerbread Junction Competition held every year the second week of December, I take no prisoners. I aim to kill, and I shoot to win. That's me. My name is Cinnamon, and my mom had some foresight on her when she named me that. She knew that I had a kick to me. No, sentimental isn't normally something I identify with. But something about that dog out there, with his matted fur all thick with snowflakes, and the way he's shivering and shaking in that cutting Central Oregon Cascade Mountains kind of wind, and the way that he bolts every time I so much as go for the doorknob, and the fear and sadness in his little eyes, looking like somebody did something bad to him, looking like the way I did about 2 years ago. Something about him has turned me into a big bowl of hot pie filling, oozing and bubbling over the sides of the pan, all melted and gooey and sweet. Geez, I've even got a name I'm calling him now, Huckleberry. I watched him as he slopped away noisily at the almost empty tin pie pan while keeping his fearful eyes glued on me. He couldn't even really enjoy the leftover pie like that, ready to jump if I so much moved from my statue-like stance at the back door window. The snow was coming down in heavy flakes, standing out against the dog's black fur. It probably had been lustrous at one point, the way Australian shepherd's fur usually is. Now it was all matted and muddy. Tear stains clung to the corners of his sad little eyes, a desperation of hunger in them. He had a thin red collar around his neck, but no tag. I hated thinking about how his little stomach must have grumbled. He could have been a poster dog for one of those Humane Society commercials, with words at the bottom of the screen saying something like, "When will my next meal be?" Poor thing. This was the third time this week he'd come to the back porch of my pie shop. He came out of the woods that bordered the back of my store. I didn't know if it was the bright light shining through the black night that brought him, or the smell of late-night pastries and the promise of scraps. But for whatever reason, he'd show up on my back porch. When it first happened, I opened the door and tried to lure him inside with some leftover Marionberry pie. He took off back into the woods, but an hour later he was right back there, shivering on the steps. I finally left a pie tin of scraps on the porch for him to eat in his own good time, and as I watched him nervously devour the leftovers, I gave him a name. Huckleberry. It really should have been Marionberry, but that sounded too much like a girl's name. The dog was a boy dog and needed a stronger name, Huckleberry. The next morning I called the sheriff's office about the stray, but either nobody had any luck catching him, or catching a lost dog wasn't high on anybody's priority list. Since then, he'd visited the back porch a couple more times, each time late at night, each time when nobody could catch him, each time I'd leave a tin of the day's leftover pie for him. Each night I'd watch him eat, and he'd watch me. I wanted to help him more, but he wouldn't let me. I looked out the window and fought off a chill that traveled up my spine. A bitter winter's chill that had stayed with me for the past 2 years. Sometimes it would just strike me out of nowhere. In the height of a summer day, I'd be hit with a bout of shivers. My body would go numb, and it was like I'd get caught in a thick fog for a while. I never had the chills up until 2 years ago. Huckleberry suddenly stopped slopping at the tin. His ears pricked up and his hair bristled, and within a split second he was gone. I watched him run back into the woods, disappearing into the darkness. I stared out into those black, frozen woods as the